Hello, everyone. It's Shane Conto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to the Wasteland Vintage Roadshow here on the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network. This is my monthly show where a guest and I shamelessly just, you know, praise one of my favorite films, talk about what we love about it, and it's a fun time. And not gonna lie, this is one of those movies that has been a part of my life for a long time and deeply is rooted in my own psyche as somebody who is a self-professed robophobe.
Mm.
It is Terminator 2 Judgment Day
Dun
when
dun
Sky
dun 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 dun.
dun, 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 dun. Da-na-na. I could I can listen to the score of this. And joining me is our fearless leader here at the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network. It's Mike Hilty.
Hello, hello. This is actually our second time talking about Terminator or Terminator 2 specifically on a podcast. So
Yes.
looking forward to chatting with you a little bit more in depth because that was back in the day when we had to jam in a 30-minute conversation about two movies. So looking
Yep.
forward to talking about this more.
That was the scribe days, right?
Oh God, yeah, those were the scribe days.
That was in the iteration of Wasteland retrospective in the before times. But what we do here on this show is, we talk about some broader concepts and topics related to the film and then dig deep into the things that we love about the film. If you're looking for a deep criticism of and film critique of this film, that is not what this podcast is about. This is for us to gush about some movies that we love. And let's get started with just, the James Cameron of it all. He
Mm.
is one of the most prolific filmmakers of his generation in film, and for the past 40 years has legitimately changed filmmaking forever.
Yep.
And it all started with Piranhas, but really it started with a Terminator.
Right.
Um, but yeah, but Mike, what are your general thoughts on James Cameron as a director?
So, from a technical standpoint, James Cameron is one of a kind. He
Yep.
knows how to frame things, how to use the special effects really well. You know, as a director, he's pretty fantastic. The only thing that kind of like gets it a little bit is sometimes the story with a lot of these James Cameron movies are either pretty basic or they're repeats or retreads of other things that he's done before. And but as a director, James Cameron is just one of a kind.
Mhm.
You're not if you're looking for something that's going to be spectacle, this is where James Cameron comes in. Like I don't understand how James Cameron can have three of like the
Top four highest grossing films of all time.
and like one of them it's a movie about the fucking Titanic. Like what are we talking about here? Like
So
what is
I will
this?
I will give you a spoiler alert. I will never cover Titanic on this show because
What?
Titanic is not one of my favorite movies, nor like it's not even in like probably top half of my James Cameron movies. But like he he made a box office phenomenon out of the sinking of the Titanic.
Yep, that
Like
is very
what?
true. Yeah.
What? I have other thoughts about how many Oscars it won in 1997, but Justice for LA Confidential,
It won too
um,
many. It won way too many Oscars.
which literally the tie for the most with Ben-Hur and Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, two of my top five favorite movies of all time.
Hmm,
Just throwing that out there.
hmm,
But
hmm, hmm.
this, like James Cameron, first half of his career, like the Piranha thing is here
That's
there. Like he
that's an
got
anom that's
he got his
feet.
feet wet. You're welcome. Like Terminator, Aliens,
Mhm.
Aliens, The Abyss, which The Abyss isn't one of my favorites, but T2 Judgment Day and True Lies. Like
Yeah,
four of those are films that I absolutely love.
right.
Um, and I I don't love Avatar, the first Avatar movie.
What?
I'll give him all of his flowers for how incredible that film looks. But what I will say is one of my top 10 films of its release year was The Way of Water. Actually love that. And
Mhm.
I think that got a lot of hate. And I'll admit, I thought the movie was going to not do so hot at the box office because it'd been too long. And then I was proven completely wrong because it's
Yeah.
the third highest grossing movie of all time. I'm just like, Jesus Christ. This
Yeah.
man, which
I
also James Cameron thinks he's Jesus Christ, which is another thing about James Cameron is that he thinks he's like God's gift to movies.
One of my
He's a confident man.
he is a very confident man. Unfortunately, box office number, like if you were measuring confidence based on box office success, that guy should
He's the
be
greatest of all
oozing
time.
with confidence.
Yeah.
Um, but doesn't change the fact also that box office success should not be the only metric that we measure some of these movies off of.
Correct.
And I think one thing that I appreciate about this movie in terms of James Cameron's footprint with this is that it it specifically took the special effects game and just upped the ante so
Other
much
level.
because I full disclosure, I just rewatched this today,
Yeah.
the night that we recorded this. And even today in the year of our Lord 2025, those special effects look pretty good. There's been a
Look
lot of
legit.
movies out there that I'm like, who who which college student did they find off Craigslist in order to do the special effects for this?
And
But
what's important context is that not only is he great with the technology and having state of the art special effects, he's also smart enough in the design
mhm,
way of knowing the limitations. Because here's the thing, does the T1000 have to look absolutely amazing because it's a smooth metallic ooze?
mhm,
Like, it's a smooth metallic ooze. It doesn't have to look like, oh my God, look at all the texture in it. No, it's a smooth ooze. He knows how to leverage things and make them effective and knows the limitations of what he has to work with.
mhm, yeah.
And twins, so many twins he
So
takes advantage of for special effects.
yes, very much so. But with this, the these movies should not work because they like I'm saying specific, well, I'm maybe saying the whole franchise because one of the things that we're going to talk about is just some of the themes and some of the things that this is saying about our reliance on artificial or just the
Mhm.
prospect or the dangers of artificial intelligence along with this whole notion that the future, like, is the future like really set in stone? Like, these are like really heady concepts. And I get it. This is a science fiction movie, so there should be some heady concepts here. But you couple that with some amazing action set pieces and also like a genuinely good performance uh from Arnold Schwarzenegger in this, because you could tell that there's a huge difference between how he acted in the first Terminator versus how he acted now, because or like in T2, because he had such a long movie career uh that he had done a bunch of things and he actually kind of learned to act a little bit.
Well, and we'll certainly get into that, but like this is a 7 year gap in between sequels, which usually that's a red flag. But
Usually.
like usually, but the kind of summation on James Cameron, I think outside of Steven Spielberg, I don't think anybody is as good of a blockbuster filmmaker as James Cameron. I think Steven Spielberg's really his only real competition, if you think about it from that standpoint, from just overall quality of how to make a blockbuster work. Because my God, Aliens, and
Mhm.
also, who else knows how to make a sequel this good?
Yeah, that's you're not going to find a whole lot of people who would be able to do that.
No. And I think James Cameron, he has a limited filmography because, yeah, there's large gaps in between his
Very,
movies,
very.
especially between Titanic and Avatar,
Hmm.
because he was literally creating a whole new world of Pandora. But I just wish that someday he'll stop making Avatar movies and maybe make another Terminator movie, but we'll get to that later.
Oh boy, we will get
We
to that.
will. But this movie is so important because if you think of the science fiction genre, the action movie genre, and the hybrid sci-fi action movies, this is peak. There are few sci-fi action movies that are better than T2 Judgment Day.
I, off the top of my head, I can't think of a whole lot that are better than T2 Judgment Day. That the job that this had to do with expanding the lore so much that we're we're looking at things from a slightly different point of view. And also this movie is so aggressively 90s and I love it for
And
that.
it's barely in the 90s because this is
Yeah.
the 91. So like I was born in 1991. This was came out the year I was born.
Mm,
So and like I had the whole 90s basically for the most part to grow up in, but
mhm,
like this like hit that space of right when 80s were turning into 90s vibes for sure.
mhm.
And I want to have a little anecdote here because
Okay.
I have been having the same argument with my buddy Matt Williams, who has appeared on quite a few of my shows on my YouTube channel as part of my movie club.
Mhm.
I've been having the same argument with Matt for years. What is the greatest sci-fi action movie of all time? T2 Judgment Day or The Matrix? And I have been in the T2 Judgment Day camp from day one, and Matt will unrelent his support of The Matrix, which is why this argument's never going to end. Because I don't think either of us are going to give up on it.
So it's not because they're both great, but an argument could be made that without the success of a movie like Terminator 2, we don't get movies like The Matrix
Yep.
or other like heady sci-fi, deeply
That's still
philosophical.
kick ass.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a tough call because I love both of them. And
Which
and at
I
that point you're just grasping at straws at that point. And
it's
I
one
think the
A,
big
one B level
that
of argument.
but again the point of, hey, at this point Terminator 2 came first and potentially gave opportunities to filmmakers to make movies like The Matrix. Because if Terminator 2 doesn't work, not only does like because I had read that James Cameron originally wanted to end the series with Terminator 2. And quite
It
frankly, it
should
probably
have.
could have. But if if Terminator 2 doesn't work, we don't like if you just look at like the after effects of what that
Mhm.
could mean moving forward. Does James Cameron still have a successful career after that? Does sci-fi action, kind of kick into higher gear, and do we get some of these other movies? Does Arnold Schwarzenegger become, the action star that he became in the 90s, or does he get into politics sooner than I don't know, but there's a lot of things out there that probably wouldn't have happened if T2 wasn't a success
Well, and what's interesting is because he did it once before too with
with
Aliens.
Aliens. Yeah, I
Because Aliens is peak action sci-fi film too. Like for me, it's really the collection that I have, it's The Matrix, it's Aliens, it's Mad Max Fury Road,
Mhm,
which I guess that depends on where you want to lie dystopia. Usually it gets clumped in with science fiction, so there you go.
mhm,
And then like RoboCop and Predator
mhm.
are like the peak ones for me in
Right.
terms of like action sci-fi movies. And like I think RoboCop and Predator are a bit of a layer down,
Oh yeah.
but
Yeah.
they're still like they're two of my top 100 favorite movies, which they will both be featured on this eventually.
Very
Like
nice.
it's like if you look at this Mount Rushmore of aliens, T2 Judgment Day, The Matrix, and Fury Road, those are that's amazing Mount Rushmore of cinematic experiences. And
Mhm.
that's the thing. I love science fiction. I'm a humongous action movie fan and also action movie snob. So I have
Mhm.
very high standards for the action that I want to see in movies. And so much of sci-fi action is just turned into comic book movies
Mhm.
at this point that and to be frank, I don't think this is a controversial opinion to share. The action isn't always the greatest in most of these comic book movies.
No, they're they're not. They have maybe one cool action sequence, but it's like most of the time the action either is just a retread of what has already been done or something that's done for fan service
Or just
or
a hodgepodge of just a
Mhm.
whole bunch of CGI.
I mean, in all honesty, what was the last action like sci-fi action movie that you were like, "Oh wow, this is really really good," that wasn't a Marvel or a DC movie? Yeah, I
Well,
hate to
let's
put you
say
on the
that
spot.
pop like well, and this is really sad that this is 10 years ago, but Fury Road.
Mhm.
Um, but like that's an interesting question because I don't think we're in a really big peak time for sci-fi action. Because to the point, I think superhero and comic book movies have really usurped that space.
Mhm.
And like, God, even well, Edge of Tomorrow is even older. Um, so
No,
like there
it's 2014, so yeah.
ugh, I don't love that. But like thinking about that, it's really oh, I guess well, everything everywhere all at once is probably which that had amazing action. Well, and that's the thing, most people aren't going to think about it that way because it's so weird.
Mhm.
It is such an odd piece of filmmaking that I don't think most people would gravitate and like think about, oh yeah, this is a sci-fi action movie if you really think about it. But no, like I guess depends on how much you want to consider the Planet of the Apes movies action movies, which
Yeah,
they're like action adventure movies. Obviously science fiction because apes, talking apes.
right.
Um, like they're probably and like War came out in what 2017?
Ish, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I did really like Kingdom though, but yeah, that's I don't think we're in a great space for sci-fi action at this point, which let make it a comeback.
Well,
But
because most of the sci-fi action stuff is like fourth or fifth sequels or superhero movies at this point. We
yes,
haven't gotten a whole lot of original sci-fi action movies. And I think the thing to bring it back to Terminator 2 is that this was it expands the lore, but also it kind of remains true to the sequel or
mhm,
to the original as well. And the events of the sequel or of the first one shape the events of what happens in the sequel. And that's kind of what makes these two so unique compared to the other Terminator movies.
which let's segue into that because here's the
Okay.
thing. I think the biggest issue with the Terminator franchise is that it didn't have a consistent vision and it completely contradicts the whole entire themes of it. Because here's the
Mhm.
thing, this should have been the end because the whole entire theme of T2 Judgment Day is that it's not fate.
Mhm.
You can change the future.
Mhm.
Mike, do you recall what the theme at the end of Terminator Rise of the Machines was?
isn't it that, everything just like, because
You can
spoilers,
delay
yeah,
Judgment Day. You cannot avoid Judgment Day, which
yeah,
is completely contradictory to this film,
yeah.
which the ending of Rise of the Machines makes me so angry because it's so flippantly just it's just like, oh, we cannot avoid Judgment Day. We could only delay it. I'm like, shut the F up. Why the hell did we sit through all of Judgment Day just for
Right.
you to be like, screw that? And I think the biggest issue was it wasn't James Cameron.
Well,
And there's a noticeable difference.
there is a much like you say that like Predator and RoboCop are like lower tier compared to some of your other ones. The gap in between Terminator and T2 and the rest of the franchise is just miles apart. And it's because that consistent messaging isn't there, but also it's that James Cameron vision. It's not there, and
Mhm.
it's not as pronounced. And when you start to get a sense that, oh, we're just adding things in here just to make it cooler, like the the Terminator in the third movie is, oh great, it's a woman, but like,
And she's sexy and she looks like a model, which
exactly.
was like the main driving force of casting.
Hmm.
Like if you're gonna do that, like get like a Gina Carano
Right.
who looks like she's gonna beat the shit out of you.
Hmm.
Or like have somebody, put the work in and look like Linda Hamilton from T2 Judgment Day, who looks like she'd beat the shit out of you. So
Yep.
like that, and also some of the casting in Rise of the Machines was trash. Like nothing against Claire Danes. I don't think she brings much to it, but the real like they haven't done a great job of casting. um like
They
we'll
have
talk about
not.
Eddie Furlong, which I think it's a tough thing that he was definitely going through puberty, making this movie and his cracking voice and stuff like that. But at least he had some personality,
Yes, he did.
unlike John Connor in Rise of the
Well,
Machines.
unlike John Connor in the rest of the series as
Well,
well.
yeah. Well, and here's the thing: Salvation could have been a home run.
It should have been a home run. Yep.
There's so much potential there. Issues, Mac G.
Yep.
Like Mac G's not James Cameron.
Nope.
The the prologue of this, of the future, that future looks so incredible. And then that's not the vision that you get
Nope.
in Salvation. And Sam Worthington being saddled with like I could appreciate Sam Worthington now in character actor roles and supporting roles. Like this was that point where Hollywood was forcing him down our throats and he just wasn't the right lead. And
No.
they
No, he was.
and they underutilized Christian Bale,
Yes, very
who's
much so. And the his onset outburst is now the stuff of legend, which is
yep.
too bad because that should not be what a movie like this is about. I think Anton Yelchin as Kyle Reese was inspired casting, but I don't even think that he was ready for a role quite like this because you needed someone that had a little bit more action gusto. And if if you're looking for someone who's a good soldier and who could wax philosophical about this potential mission moving forward, yeah, cast Anton Yelchin, but not for a role like Kyle Reese.
Well, and I think I don't even have any problems with like the twist that like Sam Worthington's character is a Terminator and stuff like that. I thought that was interesting. I think the issue is the second that Arnold shows up as a CGI Terminator, you just realize how different of a filmmaking experience this is than watching James Cameron do his work.
Yep.
And then Genesis. just Genesis
Yeah,
just was such uh like what are you doing?
yeah,
Like why would you make John Connor Terminator? And nothing against Jason Clarke. He's also not that particularly interesting as John Connor. And then you got Amelia Clarke, who I think is very charming. I don't think she's the strongest actress. And then you got Jai Courtney,
yep.
who yet again, I think he's starting to find his space as a character actor where he should have been in the first place. But yet
Mhm.
again, they were trying to make Jai Courtney happen.
Yep, yep. That's all of that is accurate.
At least J.K. Simmons was there.
We can't forget also about the Sarah Connor Chronicles as well, because the TV
It had a
show,
lot of credit
the TV show had its moments, but also you're putting you're putting the franchise in kind of a tough spot because how much can you really do with the franchise like this after what, like three or four movies, a whole lot of fandom lore, and how on earth can you make a show that interesting and like on network TV nonetheless?
on Fox when they're gonna kill it.
Well, because Fox has had a consistent it has a consistent record of trying to kill certain sci-fi shows. Looking at you, Firefly, um,
Hmm.
before it had a chance to really find its audience. And
Yep.
who knew that Fox would be ahead of the curve in terms of just killing shows like way too early in their prime.
Well, and Lena Headey was Sarah Connor, right? In
Yeah.
that's inspired casting.
Hmm.
Um, and then you have Dark Fate, which to be honest, I think had some of the most potential
Hmm.
in a while. It's just all of these movies just live in the shadow of James Cameron. Because like the first two are on such a high level and have so much craftsmanship and so much everything that this is just like at this point this isn't really working.
Well,
And
the the trouble with Dark Fate is that we've completely jumped the shark now that
at
Dark Fate is
yes,
here because the original premise of the Terminator series is we want to we want to make sure that John Connor does not become the leader of the human resistance. So what do they do in Dark Fate? And spoiler for a 6-year-old movie,
kill him
they kill him
immediately.
immediately. And you know what should have happened at that point in the movie? Roll credits. Because the series is done at that point. Mission accomplished. Like
The
the
machines
Terminator,
won.
like Terminator Genesis, like it should have been there because hey, you turned John Connor into a Terminator at that point. Great. So not only do you turn John Connor into a Terminator, but then in the next movie you just decide to kill him. Like, what are we doing here? And then you have Linda Hamilton in there. Some of her, like all of her best moments are in the trailer, and then you still have Arnold Schwarzenegger coming in here and be like, seriously? How many more times can we go back to this Arnold Schwarzenegger well before eventually you got to realize this guy cannot do the same things that he was doing in 1991, where his stunt double was doing some amazing riding of the motorcycle while shooting a shotgun? Like, we
Very
can't
obviously a stunt double at times, but
very obviously a stunt double, but because part of the other problem as well is that none of the movies after T2 had a compelling villain quite like that T1000.
mm-mm. Well, and let's not forget that Arnold was a great villain in the first place because
Exactly.
he's intimidating as hell.
He is. And there's something about Robert Patrick's stoicness that, like, kind of gives me like Wednesday Adams vibe. Like, he never blinks. He's
Yeah.
always just staring at you, just one emotion the whole time, which, yes, I get it. That's what Terminators that's what Terminators are. There's just one emotion, that's it. There's just one in particular mission. But between some of the cool effects that they do
Mhm.
with the liquid metal, and also the fact that he's not so much using guns, he's using blades as well. All of
Yes.
those were really cool and really creative. We have not had anyone that has been that good of a villain in the Terminator series since. I would
No.
argue that maybe Gabriel Luna's Terminator was pretty good, but
Well,
not.
and they were literally just trying to make Robert Patrick again. So
Yep.
like I don't think you could give that too much credit when they're literally just ripping off another like
I
they're ripping off Robert Patrick's thing, but no, I think he did a really fine job. I This is a lot of in hindsight. I honestly think Dark Fate might actually be the most interesting of these sequels.
mhm.
And it's I still think that maybe Rise of the Machines is probably the best movie out of them. Because at least like that's just like consistent like action fun kind of thing. But like all of them are way too flawed. But getting into this, and like one of the things that works so well about Judgment Day is it has a great story.
Oh
You have
yeah.
this whole setup of the first film where they try to kill Sarah Connor. Didn't work. Well, try to kill John Connor then. It's
Mhm.
a logical leap from
Mhm.
here to here.
Yeah.
And the fact that obviously Kyle Reese is dead.
Yep.
How can John Connor protect his younger self? Hijacking a Terminator is a very interesting idea, and it puts a lot of drama and potential into the film because Sarah Connor has to get over the trauma. And that sequence when she sees the Arnold for the first time, that's a harrowing sequence.
See, and that's something that I really appreciate about this movie is that a lot of a lot of other movies could have gone the route that Sarah Connor just goes on to live her life normally and
Mhm,
everything's all hunky dory and the Terminators come back and try to kill John Connor. Like, okay, cool. That's the premise of the movie. However, what this does is it's showing just how much of an effect that the first Terminator movie had on Sarah Connor as a character because everybody thinks she is crazy.
mhm.
Crazy in this movie. And I have like this movie feels like it's so ahead of its time in terms of what trauma does to somebody, how other people in how other people kind of internalize that trauma and how they kind of react to it and the downstream effects that that trauma has when on your kids as well.
Mhm.
Like like this is one not like the first time I've noticed it, but like I never understood just how much it hurt John Connor when he breaks Sarah out of the mental institution and she's just like, yeah, you shouldn't have done that, and just like turns around and whatever. And Arnold is like, what's wrong with your eyes? Like nothing, but he did that because he wanted to see you, but also he knew that it was the right thing to do, and that's just because that's just what John Connor does. He just knows what needs to be done. He becomes this great resistance leader, and he's just somebody that he cares a lot.
Mhm.
That is, and what a great way to show that after the beginning parts where it's like, oh, you're hacking ATM pin
He's a
numbers
shit
and
ass little kid.
you're playing Afterburner at the art at the Glendale Galleria in yeah, it's crazy, but th- I really like that James Cameron really kind of uh, took Sarah Connor's character in a whole different direction because she is somebody who she was like the damsel in distress in
Yeah,
the first
100%.
Terminator, and I got to give him a lot of credit for what he did for Sarah Connor and what he did for Ellen Ripley to turn
Mhm.
both of those characters into iconic badass women who are bad. I don't even just want to say women, like just iconic badass heroes in
Yeah.
their respective franchises, and just flip the script on them so that they can have a little bit more agency than they were given before.
Well, first off, I know understand why you cry, but it's something I can never do. Damn it. Uh, we'll get to
Mm,
that. But like what this film does and what's so important about Terminator and how this all works is it's a circle.
mhm,
Time is a circle because this isn't like going back and changing time. No, this all happens and it's all meant to happen. John Connor would not exist if Kyle Reese didn't get sent back and sleep with Sarah Connor to have John Connor.
mhm,
John Connor literally sent his own father back in time to make him.
mhm, mhm,
John Connor would never become this warrior resistance leader if his mother wasn't traumatized by this Terminator and become this badass who teaches John Connor to be that leader.
mhm.
And that's how that all flows together is so perfect. And then you have the whole Dyson element of this,
Oh yeah.
where which it's the This is 2 years before Jurassic Park came out, when it's just like, your scientists spend too much time thinking about if they could, they didn't think about if they should.
Yep.
And Dyson is the embodiment of that. He is a nice guy. He's absent-minded. He's too absorbed in his own work, and he's neglecting his wife and his kids. But Dyson's not a bad man, but he is so driven by his own curiosity as an inventor that he doesn't think about the consequences. It's just like I have the same feeling about people today with AI. Like we are very far away from a Skynet level artificial intelligence.
Are we?
It's still years away. But the issue
Mm,
is
like two
we have
years?
we have a whole other level of issue is that artificial intelligence is going to deplete the workforce.
Mhm,
It's depleting our water supply and jacking up all of our utility bills because it takes up so much goddamn energy to use.
mhm.
And it's making us lazy. We're all going to wind up like Wally humans, giant fat babies floating around on hover chairs.
Well, and I'm sure the people who have perfected artificial intelligence to become what it is today, I'm sure the people who pioneered the internet had probably the same thing, which is again why, man, history keeps repeating itself until it just eventually humanity's going to get destroyed, and then all of a sudden, yeah, maybe we look back at some of those things and be like, oh, these are these apex moments where, hmm, could
Humanity
could
will
it
be
could
humanity will be the herald of its own demise,
oh yeah, without a
without a
doubt.
doubt. And the issue is that too many people out there that are too smart, too talented, don't think about consequences. And that is what happened. In what person's mind would be setting up all of your national defense work through an AI that
Yeah.
can kick you out
Hmm.
potentially? Why is that smart? Like, who thought that's a smart idea? And like, what's going to happen when people start losing all their jobs to AI and then they can't afford to pay the utility bills because the AI is jacking up all the prices because it takes way too much energy?
Yep. All of that is true. Um, can I admit something to you that I'm
Mhm.
not proud of? So the first couple times I saw this, I always thought that the Dyson storyline was kind of dumb to to add in there because
Mhm.
it felt like it was disruptive to the natural course of the story. And this was like me, who's like 10, 11,
Yeah.
first watching this, like probably hideously inappropriately watching this. And I was like, this guy being in this, I wouldn't say ruined it for me, but it just felt out of place. And
Yeah.
watching this as an adult, it's like, no, no, this matters a
It's so
lot.
important, like from a thematic standpoint and how this all comes together. But like, and also just the storyline of the Arnold's Terminator has to face off with the idea that he is an outdated model
Mhm.
and he's going up against what replaced him. And that is such an interesting idea. And it brings in added layers of drama and intrigue to the story. And that's what's so interesting about this film.
Mhm.
Then you have James Cameron, who directs the hell out of this movie
Uh-huh.
because this is expertly paced.
Yeah.
It moves. It's this looks like a movie.
Yes, it does. Very much so.
And this looks like something cinematic and
Uh-huh.
interesting. And it balances humor and it's just like, come on, try to smile.
Hmm.
The Arnold trying to smile is hilarious. You have that humor. You have the deep emotional
Hmm.
elements of this. There's a really like God, the end with him saying goodbye and the thumbs
Thumbs
up.
up. Ugh.
Oh, it just on some level so emotionally devastating. And it's like Terminator and the Terminator and T2 Judgment Day are pseudo horror.
Oh
Like
yeah, absolutely. They
they
are.
don't I don't feel like they quite like they're obviously thrillers and there are pseudo horror elements to this and James Cameron's able to find that too. And
Mhm.
then the action is so propulsive and high energy. It's just how he brings this all together is very few filmmakers could have made this work the way that he did.
I'd probably venture a guess and say no filmmaker probably could. There was a time where everyone was like the Wachowski siblings, they're the closest ones who are going to get to where this is at, and even they've kind of stumbled a little bit over the weight of potential expectations to be the heir apparent to James Cameron and like Spielberg adjacent as well. Um, Even throw in like your George Lucas if he's not writing something. Um,
George
like
Lucas is not a great director.
he
He's an
is a
ideas
he
guy.
yeah, he's a great producer, but
Mhm.
directing and
World building, he understands the broader concepts and rhythms of storytelling. It's
Mhm.
just if you think about it, the arguably the best Star Wars movie he didn't
Are the
direct.
ones he did not direct. Yep,
Like
absolutely.
so, and a lot of the prequels problems are
Are
him
because of him.
directing.
Are
Yep,
because of him. It's his direction and his script. So,
yep.
but I don't think anybody could have walked the tightrope that this movie is between like you said the emotional beats, the stellar action sequences, and the humor that
Mhm.
this has. I don't think anybody other than James Cameron could have done it.
He just has such a great handle on so many things from a filmmaking standpoint. And thinking about, so this really leans into computer generated effects with the T1000, and that liquid metal
It's
looks
just
awesome.
mhm.
And it's such a creative idea. And like when you see Robert Patrick or his stunt person running around with like these metal, like obviously like his run
Mhm.
to begin with, but like when he has like his arms are turned into like metal pikes, or you have especially in the final sequence when Arnold is like tore to pieces and you have all these practical effects and blood and guts and stuff like that. And his use of twins, so like those the twin heavyset mustached actors who, like, they're actually twins if you watch Good Morning Vietnam, because they're literally sitting next to each other. That, and have you watched the director's cut?
I have. Yeah.
So like that whole scene where Linda Hamilton's digging through his head and taking the chip out, and the reflection is not a reflection, it's Linda Hamilton's twin sister.
Mm,
It's a she Linda Hamilton's working on a bus of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then Arnold is in a hole on the other side of the wall with Linda Hamilton's twin sister. And like all like that kind of stuff, that level of filmmaking and creativity, and that's so wild that that got cut from the original film. Oh, like all that effort,
I,
like, and all the actions practical. Like, they didn't CGI motorcycles or trucks in this. That 18 wheeler running through that water, uh, the
it's like the reservoir of the LA
yeah,
River or whatever.
the reservoir, that sequence, like that's a real tree.
Hmm.
And like oh my god, that truck coming down and landing on the ground, and all of those things, and like they smashed the roof off of it at one point. All of those things are practical.
Hmm.
It's a real truck,
Yeah.
and it's wild. And the action sequences in this film, that chase sequence is so intense. And
Hmm.
also one of the most badass things ever is Arnold
Just
spinning
grab
this
it. Oh
the
god.
spinning the shotgun around to
Hmm.
reload it is just like the coolest thing ever.
It really is, and also it doesn't matter that we're only like 15, 20 minutes into the movie, probably not even at that point. You really feel that John's in real danger here because this T1000's not fucking around. Like
No.
the fact that this T1000 gets this truck and knows full well that there's going to come a point where it cannot move any further.
Hmm.
Um, because like you even see it when like after the truck explodes and Arnold turns around and he's still got that shotgun pointed at the fire because he's just not sure.
He
And
he knows that thing's not done.
right. And it's crazy to think that that scene could feel so claustrophobic because with the
Mhm.
truck just like constantly running into the wall because it's
Mhm.
out of control and even gives John's little dirt dirt bike a couple little love taps here and there too. Like even that is just like chilling. Like for me, having Arnold pick John Connor off of his dirt bike and puts him on his bike and still gets away from it from that truck to me is that's still like one of the greatest action sequences that
Mhm.
one could imagine for a movie like that.
Absolutely. And then, you have other sequences like the assault on the mental institution.
Mhm.
And like when the T1000 just phases through the bars and you're just like, "Oh no."
Well, when it's gun or when his gun gets
Yeah,
trapped, you're just like, oh no, he got it. Like it's done. Oh, he figured it out. Just
yep,
just turn it and then
darn it.
go through and then that's it.
And like he's chasing after them, and like he's like clawing into the back of the car and climbing on it, trying to like get in. And that's where like Art Patrick has his like prosthetics
Hmm.
for arms and stuff like that. The like Arnold taking out all the SWAT team at the company
Hmm.
office and stuff like that. That the whole entire climax, the chase scene on the highway is insane. It's
Hmm.
so intense. And then of course the whole entire sequence inside that like mill
Hmm.
with the the liquid hot magma basically that they have there.
Hmm.
And like when they take out the T-1000, that's terrifying with it like screaming and shrieking and stuff like that. I'm like, I thought I was watching The Thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. And even even with it shrieking though, there's always a small part of you that's like,
Is it gonna get out?
is it like is it dead? Like I don't know. And that's where the horror elements come in with this is that the T-1000 is just one of those villains that you're just not sure how you're going to defeat this thing.
Hmm.
And like so many other like serial killers out there, just it will not stop. There's nothing that you
No.
could do. Like one of my favorite scenes in this whole movie is the scene in when they're at the mental institution and Arnold shoots the T-1000 with the shotgun right in the head, just splits it right in half.
Yes. And it's like,
And he's, it's a gnarly looking visual, but you don't know how long it's going to be down before eventually it's like,
it phases
oh,
back together.
it'll figure it out. And I think for me, sometimes that's kind of where I struggle a little bit with these movies is like you make these Terminators so unbelievably powerful. How on earth can you find a solution to try and how do you
Well,
solve a problem like this? And they
well,
obviously do figure it out in all of these movies, but I don't know, like at some point, are we just going to find something where it's like, yeah, we can't kill it, so let's maybe it's just time to abandon the planet. And then that's where we have the beginning of Wally. Not because of trash, because there's too many Terminators around, and let's just hightail it out of here.
au- auto. But like that's what works so well about this film is that they do find a solution that makes sense within the story. And at that point, that added layer of the efficacy of this Terminator is failing
Mhm.
because you see it like not being able to move its hand off of a railing or like its feet are melding into the grating of the floor that they're on. And like those elements, and that was a great moment where John realizes which one's his actual mother because he looks down and sees like its feet like melding into the floor. But thinking about, I think we touched upon this, but like I love that this film, like, and this is why they should have been like you could only use this theme of you creating your own fate as the ending of this series.
Mhm.
Because the second that's off the table,
What are we doing here?
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the problem. This should have ended.
It,
Um,
very, very much so. Because it ends, the ending of this ends on such a hopeful note because, like, growing up, the big thing that you take away from this is that, oh, they prevented Skynet.
mhm,
They prevented Skynet from launching Judgment Day, and then, everything that just happens after that is just gravy at that point. However, when you grow up, like when I grew up a little bit and knowing that one of the big other takeaways from this is not only that you can be in charge of your fate, but you can, like, I hate to pull a Rocky Forism, but like if I can change and you can change, then anybody can change at this point. And the hopeful tone that this spurs about humanity and just
mhm,
how if the T-800 model can learn to emote or like sort of emote and learn to like care for something the way that Arnold does for John and Sarah at this point, then there's a whole lot of hope for humanity as well
mhm.
too. And I think that is a much more powerful message that this sends as well that is just completely ruined by the rest of the movies. And that
Yep.
sucks because I think that that could have been such ending something like this on a hopeful note. That's a bold move, and
Yeah.
that's something that I really appreciate. And and,
And
and
they
then
ruined it.
and then they just ruined it.
It's like they find Sarah Connor's casket in the third one, and it's like she was cremated and she left a cache of weapons because she knew it didn't really work. And it's like, shut the hell up. Like, there's so many things about the third one that's just so frustrating if you love this one.
Yeah.
But I guess go through the cast real quick. This Arnold is a much more seasoned performer than the last time that he did the first Terminator film, and he nails those one-liners, "Hasta la vista, baby,"
Hmm.
and you know all of these things so perfectly.
His callback, like some of the things that he calls back to from the original Terminator, like when he says, "Come with me if you want to live," like, oh, not quite Kyle Reese level of "Come with
Mm.
me if you want to live," but it's still pretty damn good, and I will give him a lot of credit for that.
Well, and he just has the physicality, and obviously Robert Patrick, like you mentioned, he just brings this unnerving stare and physical presence. The run is so weird
Mhm.
and off-putting.
It's just so weird because so I'm watching Peacemaker right now,
Yes.
and to see the current version of Robert Patrick to who Robert Patrick was in this, which granted, yes, I do understand that this movie is what, 35 or 34 years old right now.
Hmm. Yep.
So, yeah, like Robert Patrick just looks so different in that. And also, I hadn't seen him in anything else, and he felt like he's somebody that really could have used this as a jumping off point. And I think kind of he even settled into like the character actor role
Yeah.
that he's kind of in now, and still doing really well. Um,
Well, and
ki-
he was even one of the grunts in Die Hard 2.
yeah.
So like this was really early on in his career, and it's so funny because he's the main villain in The Marine starring John Cena. I watched that a lot.
Yeah.
And like I see he's also going to be in Tulsa King.
I mean, that feels like a pretty perfect place
Yep.
for him
Between this
to
and
be.
Peacemaker, he's doing pretty well for himself right now.
Can we talk about Edward Furlong now? Because it's a shame that Edward Furlong did not develop into one of those actors that is like consistently working.
Mhm.
And look, I understand he has a lot of personal stuff that has kind of crept up on him, but this to me should have been a movie where it's like this should have launched you to superstardom.
Yeah.
And granted, he had a good run in the 90s with movies like American History X,
Yep.
and he was in Detroit Rock City, and he showed that range of all these different types of movies that he could be in. But this to me, I don't think I'm ever going to find, or I don't think this is probably going to be his best role ever.
Yep.
And that sucks because he was so young when this came out, and he's probably going to go down as the best John Connor as well. And yeah, you mentioned that he's clearly going through puberty, his voice is cracking a lot, and he's an annoying shit little teenager.
Yeah.
So, um, but the way that he connects with Arnold, he plays
Mhm.
really well off of Arnold. You buy the relationship that he has with Sarah as well, and it doesn't seem like at first it's like this guy, this fucking kid is gonna be the human resistance leader, but like midway through, it's like, yeah, I see it. Okay, yeah, yeah,
Which
this kid's worth saving.
and this is probably Linda Hamilton's best performance too. And like she's so intense in this, and she brings a physicality. She had like well, that one video of her being interviewed that they show her,
Oh.
and like when she goes like full unhinged, talking about how the world, like everybody's already dead. She's talking to a bunch of corpses and stuff like that.
Mhm.
That's wild.
Right.
And like this was cut from the film because Michael Bean's only in the director's cut, right? Where she has that vision of him.
Yeah.
Like that's a really tender, moving moment. And you could see like in her voiceover when she's talking about like John, the only father figure John's ever had that's gonna stick by him as a machine.
Hmm.
Like that's traumatic and
Yeah.
heavy.
Yep. Very, very much so. I correct me if I'm wrong. This appears to be Edward Furlong's first role too, and or like first serious role at least.
Good for him. Good for
Um,
him for sure.
but he does such a great job in this, and it sucks that we're never going to see the full potential that we could have gotten had he like I put Edward Furlong kind of in that same camp that like River Phoenix and
Mhm.
Brad Renfro were in. It's like these could have been like all-time great performers, but all ran into similar personal problems, and there's a reason why most of them are either gone or not working
Mhm.
consistently anymore.
I think the last person I really want to give a shout out to is Joe Morton
Hmm.
as Dyson. I wish we got so much more from him in the DCEU as Cyborg's dad. I
Yeah.
felt like that was perfect. And like I rewatched Speed to talk with Adam about for the Wasteland retrospective, and he's in that too. But like he is so good as Dyson in this. He brings this character so much empathy. We feel for him and we see um the journey that he winds up going on in this whole situation. But there's some really strong performances here from the cast. The music
Oh, the
from
music.
which this is one of my favorite scores and themes from Brad Feidel. The
Hmm.
it just like it's so iconic at this point and just fits so perfectly. Like the opening credits of like the flames and the metal and everything. It just so perfect. The score so intense throughout, and even just like the music choices of like Bad to the Bone at the end really sets the tone that like Arnold's supposed to be a good guy this time.
Hmm.
And then even the Guns N' Roses that John Connor keeps listening to, some very specific early 90s Guns N' Roses.
Yep, yep. Just gives credence to the fact that this movie is so aggressively LA and this movie is so aggressively 90s, even though it's just in the 90s.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's really interesting. The music in this is just so good. It's so menacing, and
Mhm.
it's too bad that the lasting legacy of a lot of these movies past T2 is that, well, at least we still have the music.
Indeed. And I guess to wrap things up with the last couple of things, the legacy of this I feel like is this changed the game. And this
Mhm.
is like I'm doing my Wasteland list for this month on my website for cyborg movies. The Terminator,
Mhm.
like outside of Darth Vader, like the Terminator is like the cyborg of
Mhm.
cinema. And
Oh yeah, for sure.
I know it drew heavily probably from Westworld, because
Mhm.
technically Westworld was first, but like this this is iconic. There's so many iconic things about this film, from Arnold to Linda Hamilton to the T-1000, the T-800, all of these things. This really shows what you can do with deep, rich thematic ideas in a sci-fi film with plenty of great action. You could have it all, folks,
Believe
especially
it
in
or
the
not, believe it or not, you could have it all. And Unfortunately, the only way that I think we can have it all is with James Cameron behind the helm. And it sucks specifically for Terminator that it's like this because man, these Avatar movies, can we inject a little bit more humor so that they're not so dour and so just,
Hours.
blah the whole time? Like I'm
I mean,
cautiously optimistic about this Fire and Ash one, but I'm
yeah,
like
it's gonna be
well,
heavier, even
I
heavier.
yeah, like as heavy as these get. Um, did you watch Terminator Zero? It's the Netflix anime Terminator
I did.
series.
I thought that
That
was
kind of
really
I thought that was good, and it kind of feels like, are we moving towards an end game with this? Like, I'm not saying like end game style. It's like, yeah, let's bring all the models of the the T800, the T850, whatever model Arnold is in Dark Fate. I don't know, but
what I want to see. I want to see one last Terminator movie, directed by James Cameron, set in the future, fully realize the potential of salvation, and we see the fall of machines.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I want to see James Cameron's vision of that future that we see at the beginning of this movie
Mhm.
realized, and John Connor wins the day. That's what
Yep.
I want to see.
I want to see that as well. Because the beginning part of this movie just it slaps so hard, and
Mhm.
like you've got this machine just rolling over all of these skulls, and it's like, oh, this is nightmare fuel
How
levels
old's
of
John Connor supposed to be
um I
at
guess
that time?
I guess it depends because the actor looks like he's like in his 60s, but I think it's not that far into the future.
I if he is, I have the perfect casting. Who I want
Oh,
to see is John Connor and it's Josh Brolin.
yeah. It's
I
John,
want to see John Connor has become tough as nails.
he's
And
become tough as nails. He's become probably jaded and just like, let's figure this out. I've been fighting a long time. I just kind of want want to watch the sunset and watch a grateful universe.
that's the thing. I want to see like and Josh Brolin can handle like you're gonna see him send Kyle Reese back.
Hmm.
And like I want to see that. I want to see what Salvation had the potential to do, but make it fully realized in the hands of James Cameron. And I'm down for that. That's where I want to see this end. Otherwise, I don't want to see any more goddamn Terminator movies. Let them lie.
Yeah, just you and I just recorded an episode about paranormal activity and
Yeah.
how paranormal activity just needs a break. And
Yep.
at this point, paranormal activity could probably be done and nobody's going to bat an eye. This is a franchise that they're always going to try to milk something out of it because it can still be a profitable one. And unfortunately, I think the Terminator franchise, or like who owns Terminator? Is it still Paramount? And because
That's
they're
a good
gonna take
question.
they're gonna take a look at what's going on with Predator right now and be like, why can't we do that? And granted, Predator, they struck gold by finding somebody who's just passionate about the lore and can actually make genuinely good movies
Mhm.
out of this Predator lore as well. Look, if Terminator could find someone like Dan Trachtenberg,
Yeah,
then fine. Like you just let him take the helm and just go from there. Cool, that's fine.
absolutely. And that's what they need for this. But, well, that was quite the discussion of Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Mike,
Uh-huh.
thank you so much for coming on and chatting movies with me.
Thanks for inviting me for this one. I really appreciate it because I love T2, and it's just one of those unique movies for me because I grew up watching it, even though it was grossly inappropriate for me to watch it when I was
Oh yeah,
younger.
I definitely
Um,
watched this as a kid too.
but it's also one of those movies that I call it a VHS movie for me
Mhm.
because it was part of my dad's VHS collection, and that poster of Arnold on the motorcycle, it's all black. He's, not a whole lot of color to it, just that twinge of blue.
Mhm.
To me, that's one of the greatest like movie posters of all time. So I really enjoyed the conversation, and there's a lot to dissect with this one, which is good. It just makes for a good conversation about a movie as opposed to being just saying the action's good and it was funny.
Oh, there's so many great things about this film. But thank all of you for listening as well. And make sure to like, comment, and share on this episode. What is your favorite James Cameron film, or what's your favorite action a sci-fi flick out there? Make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. The SPDM Crew podcasting network is ever expanding. There's so many great shows, so many interests to listen to about. And if you want to join the crew, reach out to us on our website if you want to be a guest on one of these shows like this one, or if you want to start your own podcast. And if you like our logo, check out my buddy Joe, who came up for the logo for this, which is still my favorite logo of any of my shows. Really caught the vibe that I wanted. um Watching a drive-in movie in the middle of a desert, in the middle of the wasteland.
Mhm.
But most importantly, thank all of you out there for always tuning in and supporting the Wasteland Vintage Roadshow here on the SPDM Crew podcasting network.